It's the Jake and Ben Show. 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 Oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jake and Ben Show. I'm Jake, and I'm here with
Ben.
And we're just gonna do what we usually do: talk about some news, and then go into some Oscars, and then talk about some movies that we've seen lately or whatever. So, Ben, as always, do you want to start it off?
We will dive right into it. So, to do a quick little recap of last week, if you listened, we talked about Kristen Wiig was in talks to play the role of Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2. That has now been confirmed. And if you've listened to us for the past 3 weeks, you've heard us talk about the Black Panther box office a lot. And we're not going to go too much into it, other than to say it has crossed 1 billion. And I think before 2 weeks ago, we said we had this little prediction thing. Hey, it's going to make 1 billion. I thought easily. I'm sure you thought easily, and has now crossed 1 billion. And for people like me and Jake, and I'm sure many of you, you've been looking forward to seeing A Quiet Place. And it screened at South by Southwest, and reviews hit the web last night, I believe. Could have been 2 nights ago, but just recently. And it currently holds a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but with that being said, it only has 15 reviews in, but all the ones that I've seen have been very positive. Everybody's saying that John Krasinski is an amazing director. And for fans of The Sopranos like I am, I love it, you might be excited to hear that there's a prequel movie in the works by the creator David Chase, and it has a title, and the title is The Many Saints of Newark. There was a little, not like synopsis, but talking about it's going to take place in the 1960s. I think it was picked up by New Line. Now, if you're a Sopranos fan, I'm charged up for it, and I'm curious to hear real quick from someone who's not the biggest Sopranos fan. Does it do anything for you?
I don't really care, but it's almost not even fair for me to say that just because, I've never seen The Sopranos or know anything about The Sopranos. So of all the pieces you've just mentioned, that's the one I care the least about, but that's nothing against it. That's just, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I feel like with, at least for people I've talked to and have heard, that story is more of like an inside baseball thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that like, if you love The Sopranos, you love this news. If you don't care about it or even know about it or have seen it, it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Is there anything that I mentioned off there that you found interesting or just want to make a quick little comment before we move on?
Sure, I'll just do it quickly. Black Panther making $1 billion, I think we both assumed it would. The Wonder Woman 2 casting, we both already gave our thoughts on that. And A Quiet Place, the great reviews is awesome to hear. I never saw the Rotten Tomatoes, like before you mentioned it to me, I didn't know that, but I had seen a lot of people sharing reviews on Twitter, and all of them, claimed that John Krasinski is a horror director master, or it was something along those lines of one of the headlines or whatever. So just seeing that got me excited, knowing that, these 15 people all enjoyed it is exciting for me, because we talked about this in like our first or second podcast. I think it was our second maybe, about
I believe the second.
Our anticipated movies, and this was mentioned, and yeah, I'm super excited. This just adds to my excitement. And that's really all I have to say on those stories. Holy shit, we went through that quicker than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this stuff, it's like, we don't have to spend that much time. We'll just kill it. And, we got the meat and bones coming up. And with that,
let's go into,
we can move into some meaty stuff here.
Yeah, let's do it.
We haven't talked about this, but you do know what I'm about to say. And it is Jon Favreau. He has been hired to executive produce and write a Star Wars live-action television show for the upcoming Disney streaming service. I'm just going to lay that out there. I haven't talked to you about this. I want to hear how you feel about this. Does this get you excited for the Disney streaming service? Are you excited in general just for Jon Favreau to come on board? I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, just to mention up front, executive producing a TV show is completely different than...
essentially showrunner.
Yeah, it's completely different than executive producing a movie. Like, this reminds me of Martin Scorsese executive producing the Joker movie, and it means nothing. And don't get those two mixed up, because Jon Favreau executive producing a TV show means he is like the top guy. He's the showrunner. It has nothing to do with like a movie's executive producer or anything.
Yeah, I guess I'll say my piece then on that is that for television, the showrunner is the person who spearheads the whole show. They know the direction where it's going to go, and they have pretty much the highest power on a television show. So even when you hear people that will come on to direct, they'll have their voices heard on these episodes, and even just any television show. But the main spearhead of of a television show is the showrunner. So if you've heard us talk about the other Star Wars news of David Off and Benny Wise, I believe, the showrunners of Game of Thrones, or even if you just heard the story in general, they are the big creative forces behind Game of Thrones. Now, obviously, you have George R. R. Martin, who wrote the books, but, I mean, for these past seasons, they're the ones who really, they shape what we see. So, just to follow off of what you said, that's my piece.
Yeah, so Jon Favreau is writing and showrunning this Star Wars TV show for Disney streaming service. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay. Jon Favreau he's got talent. He's not one of the, if you were to ask me, some of the best directors of our times, he wouldn't be on that list. But he makes consistently good movies. So, the Jungle Book, if I'm just looking at his directorial efforts, the Jungle Book, Chef, and, the first two Iron Man, Elf, Sathura, he's always, I mean, he's got Cowboys and Aliens or whatever, but he's always making good work, and he's just a likable dude. Like, so you always root for likable people. I think he's a great actor, but this doesn't jump off the page like, holy shit, this is the best thing to ever happen to Star Wars or anything. Not even close to that. I think it's just a good move, in the right direction for Disney, for Star Wars as a whole. So that's probably my piece on it.
All right. To follow up on that, for me, looking at this, to me, I think it is great news. And for anybody in movie fandom, and if you're in the Star Wars fandom, you look at a guy like Jon Favreau, who has had a great relationship with Disney the past few years. He directed Jungle Book. That was a hit. And he's doing the upcoming Lion King. They've showed stuff, but I don't think the public has seen anything. They've just showed it at events. From what, from what you hear of it, people are saying that's pretty good. And he spearheaded, he started off the MCU. If the first Iron Man was not a hit, if it wasn't good, if it wasn't received well, there wouldn't be an MCU. And he took that first one, and he was the one who wanted Robert Downey Jr. The people at Marvel Studios did not want Robert Downey Jr. to begin with, because he came with baggage at the time. But Jon Favreau, he wanted Robert Downey Jr., and they got him, and look what that turned out to be. When I hear this news, and even Jon Favreau, he is a Star Wars fan. He voiced a character in the animated series of the Clone Wars, I believe. I don't think it was the movie. I believe it was the series. And for Solo coming up, he's voicing one of the aliens in there. He is a Star Wars fan. And for Star Wars fans, you would ask the question: would Jon Favreau do a Star Wars movie? Would you want to see him direct a Star Wars movie? To me, this news, I think it's great. If you're skeptical of a Star Wars show, I think if you hear the name Jon Favreau, it might calm you down. Or even if you're pumped for this and you hear the name Jon Favreau, I think this has got to get you jacked up. And even for, so many streaming services now. You get a Star Wars show, that's going to be the main card for you to get the Disney streaming service. You hear Jon Favreau's behind it. To me, of course I'm going to get that. I'm already going to get it because I'm a Star Wars fan and I'm a Disney fan. But to hear Jon Favreau, it gets me more excited. Now, to go into another direction with this, and I'm not sure you'll care this direction, but there's some people who are. And this also goes into maybe a few concerns, is that, I'll go into the concerns at first, is that when the new regime hit of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy came out and said, all right, the old EU, that's old EU now, that's not canon as of now. I was on board for that. I know some people weren't, and a lot of people were. And her thing coming out was that, all right, everything that comes up, books, video games, comic books, it's all connected. It's all going to be in one universe. And with the movies coming out, there's not a big connective tissue, which you don't, to me, I know some people are like, I want some more connectivity in the movies. We're 3 movies in now, going to be 4. For what we've had, I think Rogue One did a great job with connecting stuff. I don't think that the sequel trilogy now, it doesn't have to hammer home some stuff that were in books. I know some people will like it. Some people don't care like myself. I know there is a thing with the Force Awakens novelization where Rey, and I guess spoilers for the book and The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, is that in the book of The Force Awakens, the novelization, Rey and Poe meet on Dakar. Then you see The Last Jedi, it's like their first time meeting. I'm okay with something like that. To me, I like the idea if you're a filmmaker and you look at something maybe that was in the novelization and you're like, hey, maybe I could do something better here. To me, it doesn't get me upset. I know some people it does. And you see this live action Star Wars show and you ask the question for some people who may be skeptical on how much does this really connect of, will the show connect within the movies? Now, I think the show, and with Jon Favreau being a big fan and with certain people who may be on this television side, I think it will more fit in towards the canon of books, comic books, and past animated shows. I don't know how much it will connect into movies. I would like it to, but we'll find out. I know I'm going on a long spiel here, but for a big Star Wars fan and people with concerns or even optimism, there's a lot of layers to peel from it. Now, myself, if you're a fan of the animated shows, The Clone Wars, and Rebels, you'll know Dave Filoni as the guy who, is the animation guy, I guess you can say, which is where I take this, is that with hearing that there was going to be a Star Wars live action show, to me, I was thinking, hey, maybe Dave Filoni will be the guy to do the show. And then you get some people, hey, Dave Filoni. They're like, Dave Filoni is a guy, if you don't know, he was pretty much like, groomed to be the heir apparent to George Lucas. George Lucas really took him under his wing, and if anybody, like someone who knows Star Wars, like George, it would be Dave Filoni. That guy gets Star Wars. So you hear, hey, maybe he could direct a film. And then you have somebody who may be skeptical, well, he's never directed any feature film. Then you got to start somewhere. To me, this news, as a overall Star Wars fan, gets me excited, because then Jon Favreau is just the showrunner of this. You can have so many different talents to come in and direct these episodes. And like a guy like Dave Filoni, what if he were to come in, direct a few episodes, you get him groomed for, live action stuff. Maybe down the road, he directs a Star Wars movie. For me, I think that would be awesome. Now, however, where now the skepticism comes in is that maybe I hope this isn't the case where Kathleen Kennedy, and I'm a supporter of Kathleen Kennedy. I like the new regime as of now. But with anything, if somebody has one issue here, they're gonna say it's fucking, she's terrible. There's a lot of things that, when you hear The Last Jedi, people, there was a divide with The Last Jedi. And you get some people on the divide saying, get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, she stinks. I'm not that person. I think she's doing a good job. I think her job is also a hard job to begin with, but I think she's doing good. Now, the one thing I hope that she doesn't have this mentality of is that Dave Filoni is the animation guy. Because just as a storyteller and somebody who gets Star Wars, Dave Filoni, again, I think he is the guy who gets it, and he has great Star Wars stories to tell. So I hope he is presented the chance to potentially direct some of these episodes. And now I'll end off on one other beat that would be maybe not positive, but not also overly positive. And then I'll let you say, because I've been talking a lot here, is that the timing of the announcement maybe was questionable. They announced this on International Women's Day. And I know some people had issues. Well, it's just another white male, spearheading a Star Wars story. Now, if you've heard any of our previous shows, we are for representation of all kinds, behind the camera, in front of the camera. But also, I think I can speak for you when we also think, get the best talent in front or behind the camera to do the job. I can see where somebody would be like, oh, it's just another white male. But when I look at Jon Favreau, I think he's great. But then I also look at, with a Star Wars live-action TV show, you have the chance to bring in so many different people, color, gender, sex, to come in and sit on a director's chair to tell one of these Star Wars stories. So I think if you're someone who looks at this negatively, I think there's positive things to look at. If you're someone who's overly positively, I would consider myself extremely charged up for this, but then I can also look at other ways where somebody might not be so as excited to it. And I know there's a lot of things I've said there, a lot of things to unpack. Is there one thing that I've said from there, maybe two, that stands out to you that you want to comment on?
Woo! Yeah, okay, that was okay, that was good. You went on for a while there, but there's like two things that I wanted to mention quickly, I guess. You talked about the connectivity in Star Wars, whether between films or between, the canon itself, like the novels or whatever. I think I feel the same way as you, where the movies don't have to always connect to the books, especially just because your movie audience and your book audience is different. The amount of people that are watching the movies, the Star Wars movies, versus the amount of people that are reading the books is such a big gap that if you're gonna actually have story beats and stuff that rely on previous knowledge of the books or whatever, or if you're gonna jeopardize parts of your film to cater to things that have already been laid out in books, I think that's not a good way to do it. Just you're gonna alienate a big chunk of your audience if that's the case. So if the TV show is going to connect to the films or not, like you were talking about, I don't know. I don't really care if, to me, having the TV series connect to the movies makes just a little more sense than, having the movies rely on the books. I feel like the audience for a TV show is closer to the audience of the movies than the books to the movies. But then again, even that, still relying story moments or any moment in the film relying on the TV show is still kind of silly to me. So I hope they don't really connect, like at least connect where it depends on it. Find Easter eggs here and there, and maybe dropping some characters' names here and there, provided that if you don't know the character, you can still understand the story.
Yeah.
Then that's fine. Like, so there's that. And the other thing that you mentioned was the weird timing about the Jon Favreau story. And I think you pretty much covered it all. But I think it's also just important to say, like, yeah, okay, the timing is strange. But then again, like, it was gonna get announced anyways. It's not like, how do I want to say this? Like, on International Women's Day, you go online and you see it. International Women's Day everywhere. People were posting about it and sharing stories or whatever. So, just to have this one Jon Favreau story isn't really that big of a deal. But that's just to me. I can understand where people are coming from for that. But then again, like, to just say, like, oh, it's another white male. I kind of feel bad just for Jon Favreau at that point, where now, like, every time he gets a job that he has a lot of passion for, he's excited, he's just boiled down to another white guy. So
yeah,
that I think
to be in that position, I would feel bad for him just to be classified as that, because I don't look at this move as let's just get another white male in there. And to go back to a Kathleen Kennedy, who runs Lucasfilm, is a powerful woman. So to say that they just want white males, I don't think that's the case, because you have a powerful woman in position, and she, you look at the past 3 films, they've had female leads. Now, again, for me to say that there could be a woman out there, well, like, listen, I just want a woman behind the camera to tell a story. And I can totally agree. I just don't think that she has an agenda to be like, I want a white male. Because there was even a story a few weeks ago, and not to cut you off because I talked a lot on this piece, but she had met with, I forget who the woman's name is, but she was one of the talents behind The Handmaid's Tale, I believe. And she had a meeting with Kathleen Kennedy talking about a potential job out there. And people said, well, is it a movie? And she's like, listen, I can't say anything, but it's not a movie. And this was before the announcement. Maybe she met about directing a few of these episodes. I think Kathleen Kennedy is just, and especially because if you look at the past, few movies, she's had issues with directors. If you look at Phil Lord and Chris Miller, if you look at the reshoots with Rogue One and Gareth Edwards, I think those turned out for the better. I think even this Solo situation will turn out for the better, but she's had issues with directors. So for her to go after people that she trusts, I think, and not to say she couldn't trust anybody, but she's going after people she's familiar with, like a Ron Howard, like a Jon Favreau. To me, I think in time, and I can understand where it's questionable, and you look at Lucasfilm as them changing the game, but I think Lucasfilm as a whole, they've been trying, and whether you are somebody who is on, not even to mention a political side, well, okay, if you're like a social justice warrior, if you're somebody who is against that stuff, you can look at each side. You have people bitching about female characters in The Last Jedi, and then you have people saying there's not enough. I feel Lucasfilm has been getting some unwarranted crap, and I think that they've been making moves, whether it's fast enough or not. I think that they've just been trying to go after the best talent, and I do think in due time you will have more representation behind the camera.
Yeah, and if you think, if you're some of the people that, believe that Disney and maybe Lucasfilm is the new frontier for diversity in film, then, because you could still believe that with hiring white men, because true diversity is not removing all straight white men from your projects. It's balancing it. So you have straight white men, you have a black gay man, you have a black woman, you have a white woman, you have an Asian woman. That's diversity. It's not no longer using white men anymore. So there's nothing wrong with Lucasfilm hiring a white man. I think that's a little ridiculous, because if you just look at like the past Star Wars film, you have Rose and Finn as one of your main characters, both non-white, right? So it's just like,
yeah.
This is true diversity. It's getting everyone from across the spectrum. It's not just like what some people think it is. It's just removing white men and then you have diversity, right? That's not diversity, because you're limiting like a big chunk of people. So anyways.
Yeah. And even like, again, looking at this as a TV show, whether it's 13 episodes or 20 episodes or even 8, then you have 8, 13, 22 job openings for any director out there.
Yeah,
whether they're
just like
white,
even
black,
like,
Asian, Hispanic, female.
Yeah. The cast
male,
and crew.
You have an opening.
You have so many openings for cast and crew members for every episode that this is one job for one person. Like, I just, like, anyone who's playing that angle just, I think, needs to relax and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said beforehand about the connectivity. Now, I'll pose a question for somebody who, I'll try to be somebody that may want connectivity and questions they may ask. And somebody may say, hey, well, when, and I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Kathleen Kennedy, because I love Kathleen Kennedy. I think she's doing a killer job so far. And so not to sound as if, but if I'm somebody who's on the other side of where I want connectivity, and then I say, well, hey, I get that, books and there's, difference in audiences, but when Kathleen Kennedy comes to me in, I think, 2013 and says, hey, guys, all of this is going to connect. Whether you read a book or a movie, this is all going to connect. What would you say to a fan who may pose the question where they say, hey, I can get what you're saying, but the boss told me this is what's going to happen?
I don't know. I just, like, that was before any films were made, if I understand correctly. That's just when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, when they had this whole new plan going for the movies and TV shows and books or whatever. So things change, I guess. If you are a hardcore Star Wars book and comic reader and stuff, maybe I do feel bad that you were promised this connectivity and you wanted to build this universe that's just completely coherent and everything makes sense. But like you mentioned, who was it? The two characters meeting? I forget the two characters that you were saying. They met in the book and then they met again.
Poe and Rey.
Right, because they met at the end of The Last Jedi, right? And you were saying they met in the book.
Yeah.
But this ultimately is a business, and it's a creative business. So if these filmmakers feel that their film is best suited, not connecting to these novels, if they think they can make the best film and get the most money from diverting from it, it's just something that they're gonna have to do, and I'm not against them for doing that, right? If Rian Johnson said, if we have Poe and Rey meet, the scene's gonna play out better. And if he thought, well, they've already met, and then that scene happens in the movie and they act like they've already met, all the moviegoers would be questioning it because they haven't met.
Yeah.
So it would just be like, what the fuck? And that's a whole other audience, a whole bigger audience than the books that are saying what the fuck, instead of just the book audience saying what the fuck. I feel bad for them, but people break their promises, I guess, and things change. So
Yeah, the way I look at something like that is I feel that, especially in like, let's say 8 years from now, we have so many books, comic books, and potentially video games out that is supposed to all connect. And you're a filmmaker who comes in and now you're told, hey, this is all supposed to connect. So the past, 8 years, you got to know all that shit that happened and let's connect it in there. I feel that might be a little kind of unfair to a filmmaker. I just feel that if it's nice to have it would be nice to have everything connect. And I can understand if you're a fan who's, all right, I was promised this and this is what I would like. I do feel at the same time is that I don't think a filmmaker should be handcuffed in a way to make certain things connect, as to where I think if you're a great talent that comes in, whether you're Ryan Johnson, you're the Davidoff and Pennywise, if you're Jon Favreau, I think you should be worried about telling the best story you can. Then, hey, can I get this to connect? And this may be, and if you're one of these people, you can say, hey, well, this is kind of different. But even with comic books, when I talk to some fans who are diehard comic book fans, and they mention a movie like a Civil War or any comic book movie, and they say, well, I didn't necessarily like a movie like Civil War because it wasn't like the comic book Civil War. It doesn't have to be. You have those comic books there for you that you can enjoy, but the movies are something different and they'll tell a different story. And I can understand if you're somebody who's like, all right, that kind of doesn't compare because these books are supposed to play in hand with the movies. But I do feel that if you're adapting a comic book, that you should just tell the best story you can within your film, because even if a comic book is great, it doesn't always, it may not be great on screen. It may come off as a bit corny, so you want to make some changes as to where that's kind of how I feel when it comes to if somebody wants something to be connect or be exactly how they know it, is that you'll always, like, to me, when I look at it, I can understand, but you'll always have those books that if they're great, it shouldn't matter if they connect. If they're great, you love them. And if they do, then if you get some excitement there or enjoyment from it, I mean, awesome. That's where I'm at,
Yeah, you make a good point about like the 8 years from now. Like, just think about, 8 years is the number you said. So like, yeah, you're gonna have so many more books and comics and video games that every filmmaker to step onto a project is gonna have to, become knowledgeable about all that shit and cater their story to all the information that's from all those things. So you just look at it now and, it's only been a few years, but, 10 years from now, how much shit are the filmmakers going to have to deal with? So there's that. And you said something else there, damn it, that I wanted to mention briefly, but it seems I have forgotten it, so I can't comment on it.
Was it about comic books and movies?
Yeah, it was something about that, but damn it, there's something that I just slightly disagreed with you, and I was gonna defend maybe some people, but
that is
shit. Now I don't remember it, but that's all right.
Yeah, if you remember it, bring it up when we move on. With that being said, I think we've said a lot about Jon Favreau on this Star Wars TV show. We can move into some Oscars recap if you're ready for it.
Yes, I would like to, please.
All right, let me just whip out my. I'm just gonna have my phone here handy, just so I can look at some stuff if I forget who won.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments you want to make, or just from you watching the Oscars? If maybe you did an Oscar pool, do you have any comments to start off before we go into the winners?
Yeah, I had some friends over for the Oscars, and we did like the ballad kind of the pools or the ballad or whatever it's called. And this may have been just the most predictable Oscars in a while. I think. Yeah. I got like excluding foreign film, documentary, and all the shorts. I think I pretty much got them all. Maybe I think I screwed up on the visual effects one and production design. Visual effects and production design, but like best picture, best director, both screenplays, all for actors. I guessed them all, and like I wasn't even too into like reading the predictions and stuff. I was trying to avoid it just to be fair to all my friends who don't do that shit. Just for it's also more interesting if you stay away from that. But even saying that, I still got all of them, which was kind of. It was kind of disappointing, just like really anticlimactic, especially when Shape of Water won Best Picture. Just the whole thing was like, in Shape of Water, and then bye. And it was like, okay. So,
yeah.
No surprises, which was upsetting, but we can go into specific categories if you're up for it.
Just to follow up on that before we get right into the categories, is that I do think it was very predictable, except for maybe a few. Now, when you go into Best Picture, I thought there were only 3 movies that actually had a chance. The rest were just there. I thought Shape of Water, which obviously won, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Dunkirk were the ones that like really deserved to be there. I would have been a bit surprised if Dunkirk won, but like, those 3 were the ones I thought that deserved to be there. The one that I can maybe save this. Do you want me to save the one that I was actually pretty surprised about that one, or do you want me to just say it?
No, let's go category by category. Then when we get there, you can comment on it. So you can lead this and just mention the category, and since you got it up.
So some of these will probably be quick because like for this, Best Sound Editing, Dunkirk won.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I'll even jump off to sound mixing. Dunkirk won for that also. I wasn't too surprised because just like if you've experienced the movie in a movie theater or even just at your home, I don't think it's that surprising that it won.
Yeah, these categories typically go to war movies as well. Yeah. So even though I think editing maybe should have went to Blade Runner, but it's then I'm just nitpicking. But to see Dunkirk win both, that's cool.
Best production design, The Shape of Water.
Disappointing. I thought for sure it should have been Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Hands down. But so that was disappointing. That's all right.
Best makeup, Darkest Hour.
That may have been the easiest one.
Yeah. Was that the category that the Oscar winner, Oscar award-winning Suicide Squad won for?
That is that category. It's the weird category with only 3 nominations instead of 5. Yeah. Which is, I don't get that at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few you could have added on there.
Yeah, it's very strange that like makeup and hair is, it's a big part of a movie. Like sound mixing has 5. Why not give 5 to makeup and hair?
Yeah.
Anyways,
not to get too like let's fucking get into predictions for next year, and because we've just pretty much started there, and there's so many things. But I gotta assume like if Black Panther, if it just gets nominated for even one thing, I gotta assume for like something like a best hair and makeup or like a costume design.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be. Yeah. I don't want to get too into like, let's predict next year, because there's still so much shit to go for.
Game night for everything.
Yes, game night picture. John Francis Daly and I forget the other guy. Best director, best writing. Sound mixing. I mentioned that. Dunkirk. Best production design. Did I already mention that? The Shape of Water.
Yeah, remember I said disappointing should have been Blade Runner.
Yeah. It's like when you look at it, because there's so many people that are like one for it. It's like, wait, did I already get that? Now we can move on to what you said you thought maybe not, what you got wrong. And this one is probably the most I'll have to say, and it's best visual effects. Blade Runner 2049 won that, and when I myself, I got that one wrong when I was picking it. I look at there were 2. Not to say Blade Runner's effects were bad; they were great, they were killer. But when I looked at 2 other ones when I had in mind, I thought there was one I thought this one should win. There was one I thought like this could win, and the one that I thought could win was Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Now I didn't just think that because it's Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, and I love The Last Jedi. If you look at someone like Snoke, look how beautiful Snoke looked, and that will lead on to something else that involves Andy Serkis, and just I just thought that I thought it. If you're going to compare visual effects, there's more to do with The Last Jedi that I thought they killed. But it goes on to what I thought should have won. And I think they should have won not just for this movie, but for the past 2. War for the Planet of the Apes. What they do to bring these apes alive. And what Andy Serkis does. And I know there's 2 different terms, and I want to say I'll get it wrong. Is it performance capture, or what's the other one?
Motion capture.
Motion capture, and I believe what Andy Serkis does is performance capture, I believe.
That's correct.
And just for what he does and it just looks so good. Andy Serkis, I mean, come on, the man, visual effect, the man looks like an ape, goddamn it. He plays it perfectly.
Yes, I had apes for my pick, but then I started thinking about it. They gave Dawn, I believe they gave Dawn They let Dawn win. They let Dawn win.
Did it, though?
Yeah, I think it beat Interstellar in the 2015 Oscars for the 2014 movies. Yeah,
because I wasn't sure if it actually won.
No, because I think it did. Because if it didn't, I'll be more angry. But since it won, they've already... It's like the same thing again. So, I get... Blade Runner would be my second pick. I would put Blade Runner over Star Wars. But if you just want to check real quick about Dawn of the Planet of the
Yeah,
Apes.
I'm gonna look that up if you just want to, fill some time here.
All right, I'll fill time.
But like even just to talk about Andy Serkis, the man, and if there was a some clips released, and I think it was of just showing off for Oscars of Andy Serkis when he was playing Snoke, and just to see what he does without all the effects, it's like that guy, Andy Serkis.
Yeah, I think
okay, nominated
for more
one Oscar. It didn't win. It was just nominated for Best Achievement in Visual Effects. So it did not win. It was nominated.
Really? Did Interstellar
that's
win?
what it's telling me on IMDb.
Did Interstellar win then?
Let me look that. Interstellar.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Motherfucker.
So yeah, let's get angry here.
Okay.
One Oscar win.
Interstellar won.
Yeah, visual effects.
Oh man. Okay. Well then, I could see the Interstellar and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was, I think, closer than Blade Runner and War. I get Interstellar winning. I'm surprised that none of the Apes movies have won. Then, all right.
The thing is that
disappointing.
I think that if you look at like your Blade Runner 2049, I think the effects were great. But if you look at maybe like, let's say it's like a landscape shot or just even maybe like a ship, and it's a bit off, you could maybe forgive that something's a bit off. But if you're watching one of the Planet of the Apes movies and the ape if it looks visibly off, you're probably going to be taken on the movie, because what's the big part of the movie? It's the ape, it's Caesar. So if Caesar looks off, if he looks weird, it's going to take you out more than like, oh, maybe there's just a quick landscape shot. Something doesn't look great, but it doesn't look bad. Is that I feel that if it's not, I just wanted Andy Serkis to win. God damn it! It's not Andy Serkis winning, but the effects.
Yeah, I know this category is voted on by visual effects artists in the industry, anyway. So maybe there's something we're not seeing.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, and I get it. Blade Runner is. Go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but when I thought of it more than one, I was like, and because I did read this article that the sex scene that happens in Blade Runner 2049, apparently it took a lot of time to get that down. So, I mean, maybe that's what they're looking at. Like that right there, that was phenomenal, and that could have put it over the edge. And when I thought of that, I'm like, okay, I can understand that, because just even like a week or two before, I read an article of how hard it was just to do that sex scene alone. And if you spoilers for Blade Runner 2049, you have an AI character named Joy who doesn't. Her and Kay have a relationship, but it can't be physical, and she wants it to, have that physical element. And they bring in this, one woman who you find out more about. She doesn't have a big role, but you find out more about her, and they kind of morph into one. So Joy and Kay can have this relationship, and I assume that's what put it over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. More Oscars for Blade Runner 2049, though, because I feel like it was shafted in some of the major categories that I think it deserved. So
yeah, and one that we mentioned when we were doing some Oscar predictions that I thought this man deserves to win. He's been nominated, but he hasn't won, and it's Roger Deakins for Best Cinematography. Happy that the man won. He's been nominated, I think, 14 times, and it was his first win. I think Blade Runner 2049, it looked beautiful. To me, that was a lock to win, and I'm glad he won.
Yeah, and he's a really cool guy. I liked his. He's so casual about everything. His speech was awesome, and I've only heard him in interviews a few times, but no, I'm so happy that he won. I think he's one of, if not the best cinematographers working today. So good for him.
Yes. Now we move on to one that. I was somewhat surprised, but then at the same time I took a step back and I was like, okay, I can understand that. And is Best Original Screenplay, Jordan Peele won. All film is subjective. So when you look at this, it is, for the Oscars, it's voted by, I forget the amount, but it's over 1,000. It could be, it's a lot of people that vote on the Oscars.
I think the Academy's like 7,000 or something like that.
See, exactly. There you go, 7,000. So a lot of people pick on it. And pick on the films that are going to be nominated. And to me, when I look at some of the films that I thought, at least for Best Picture, that you could have put something else in there. I look at a movie like a Get Out, a Darkest Hour, things like those. The ones that I thought really had the biggest chances and deserved to be there were the ones I said, which were The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards, and Dunkirk. Now, at first I was surprised that Jordan Peele won, but then when I took a step back, and not to say I dislike Get Out. I loved Get Out. I thought it was a great movie. But when I took a step back And for this award specifically, I was like, all right, this makes sense.
Yeah, I'm super happy for Get Out and for Jordan Peele. I'm just looking at this category here. I mean, they're all great to excellent screenplays. So this is a tough one, but I'm just really happy for Get Out to have a horror movie win original screenplay. I watched it again last night and just like watching it thinking, holy shit, this was nominated for Best Picture and this won original screenplay was just like really exciting for me as a horror fan and a fan of genre film where it's not the King's Speech, right? So
yeah.
I think it's awesome. I'm really happy this one. This was my pick.
What I think is important about like a nomination like a Get Out or even The Shape of Water is, and even to adapted screenplay, you have Logan that was nominated for that, is to see a bit of a change and that these movies can be nominated and even win. It shows a change that a time is going to come where, again, not to go into next year because it's ridiculous to do that and it's only March, but it's something like that paves the way for maybe even a Black Panther to get a nomination for Best Picture. So I think that it was. You don't think so?
I'll be angry if Black Panther is nominated for Best Picture.
Really? You would be angry for that?
I'd be angry. Like, it's a good movie, like we said, but I just think like it's almost like that would feel like a kind of a gimmick. Like Black Panther's becoming this huge pop culture phenomenon. It's making a lot of money and people are really enjoying it. But to get Best Picture, I think like it's not in the same league as Get Out or Dunkirk or even Logan. So if you're not going to give it to Logan, then I wouldn't give it to.
Yeah, to me, it's not in the same league as a Logan, but at the same time, I look at a Get Out. I think it's in the same league as a Get Out. I think it's in the same league of a Darkest Hour. What are the other ones? Lady Bird. I'd put it in the same league as that.
See,
in my opinion, at least.
I don't. It's so marvelly though. Like there are other
to me, it
great
is Marvel
movies.
To me, I still don't think it's like when I look at the movie, I look at it more of a Ryan Coogler movie than a straight up MCU one.
See, I completely disagree. Ryan Coogler's style was a little lost on him in making Black Panther. Like if you look at Fruitvale Station or Creed, those movies. They feel like Ryan Coogler movies. Where Black Panther, it does a little bit, but it's still it's too marvelly for me to even put it in the thought for Oscar nominations. I just think that's ridiculous. But teach his own, I guess.
I do not. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Again, it's way too early to predict, but to me, it's something that I wouldn't be surprised nor would I be mad about. I think it's a great film. And I'm totally on the opposite spectrum from you of Ryan Coogler. I think it was totally a Ryan Coogler movie with obviously having to have elements of a MCU movie. Which again, it's like a Star Wars movie. If you're going to have a guy like Rian Johnson in there, I think The Last Jedi is totally a Rian Johnson film, but at the same time, it has to be a Star Wars film. So to maybe compare it to a Creed, Fruitvale Station, I think those are unfair comparisons, and I think that for it to be a Ryan Coogler film, it doesn't have to feel like those ones. It can be different within, and again, even if you look at Anthony and Joe Russo, is that you had but you start to have a shift when you get a Winter Soldier that feels different than the casual MCU one, and because of guys like Anthony and Joe Russo, you get the feel of that in the Civil War. With Thor Ragnarok, to me, that's totally a Taika Waititi film.
Yeah, but even
within fitting into the MCU. Yeah,
even that though, Looper to Last Jedi, or Winter Soldier and Civil War do feel like the similar style, and the Ragnarok, from What We Do in the Shadows even to Ragnarok, I feel it. But I mean, I'm not shitting on Black Panther. Like I maybe I would go down from my I think it's a strong 7, right? So like What We Do in the Shadows to Thor Ragnarok, I could feel Taika Waititi's hands all over it. Even Looper to Last Jedi, I feel it. But to me, Creed to Black Panther, it's not a bad thing. I guess inherently it's not a bad thing. But I do just think, going back to what we're talking about, the Oscars, I do think Black Panther in any category besides maybe production design or hair and makeup or maybe visual effects, I think
I think visual effects, that one is the one that I would think would be absurd. Not because I don't think it's bad, but it doesn't hold up to some.
Yeah, see, I just throw it in that because it's so visual effects heavy. So I mean, like, I don't think it should be there, but I would get that. But just like to put it in like screenplay or Best Picture or Best Director is asinine to me. Anyways.
Yeah, well, to me, we're in a world where 10 nominations, we still don't know that. I wouldn't be mad or surprised. To me, it was an example that for a movie like a Get Out, A Shape of Water, those movies paved the way for something like, even if you want to say a Logan, if there's another Logan down the road, for something like that to get a nomination. But yeah, I'm surprised with the whole Ryan Coogler thing, because man, going from Creed to Black Panther, it so feels like Ryan Coogler. So it does.
Man,
but
I gotta
we'll
watch.
Move on.
I gotta watch Black Panther again. I've only seen it the one time. I know you've seen it a couple times.
Yeah,
maybe I'll watch it again, or I don't know, because like
And
a little bit's
like,
been
for me,
lost on
watching
me
it
just
again,
lately.
It was, for me, on the second time, it was better.
Okay, that's good to know.
Not say I
Just because
disliked
like
it on first.
as I haven't seen it in a little bit, and just like see a lot of people talking about like Oscars. I was just scrolling through Twitter earlier, and people were talking about this one person was saying how it's going to be nominated for Best Picture or something. I just think, okay, am I missing something? Because I remember it being good. I remember it being almost really good, but we'll see. Anyways, let's go back to why we're here. Let's talk about adapted screenplay.
We could go on to that. I'm just going off of this list over here, and when I switch over it, that one is on the next one here. So we can go on to that one. Then I'll go back to what was thereafter. So adapted screenplay. Call Me by Your Name. That one I was not surprised with. That was, to me, I thought that was a lock. I was happy Logan got a nomination for there.
Did you end up watching Call Me by Your Name?
I did see it. I seen it, I think, 2 days before Oscars. And yeah, I thought it was a great movie. Great movie.
Yeah. See, I've been wanting to talk about Call Me by Your Name just a little bit publicly, or I guess on here. I don't know how public this is, but
public to like 10 people.
Yeah. when I first started the movie, I've almost found it uncomfortable that he's 17 and he's like 30 something, and I think that's just a cultural thing, like in Canada and the States or whatever. Yeah,
I heard that talked about before I had seen the movie, and I think it does go into a cultural thing, because I believe in Italy that's not like a
I think the age of consent is like 16.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here it's 18, of course. So there's that. It's only 2 years, but I mean, from 16 to 18, you change a lot, mature a lot as a person. But so at first, just like being raised, 18 is consent, and that age gap is a little uncomfortable. It was hard at first, and no one's talking about that. And maybe that's something that should be addressed. But if in Italy, it's different. So as the movie progressed, and you start to see the relationship unfold, I bought it more. Like, it didn't bother me by the end of the movie, so that was nice. This movie, the way what it has to say about sexuality, I thought was so incredible. This, he's gay, kind of. He sleeps with women, but his heart is with Armie Hammer, and I just thought like how it's very gray. Sexuality is not black and white. I thought that's like the strongest part of this movie. It's, they're just people trying to understand their place in relationships and in the world. And I thought it was beautiful. So, maybe you strip away some of the artistry and it becomes like uncomfortable that he's 17 and with like a 30-year-old or whatever. But what this movie is saying and how it portrays its characters is so mature, and it's really smart. So by the end, I didn't give a shit that the kid was 17. But I've wanted to talk about Call Me by Your Name for that reason.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit.
Yeah, before I watched it, like I mentioned, I heard about that aspect of it. So when I watched it, I knew that was the case. So it didn't bother me at all from watching it, and from hearing that, it's culturally it's a difference. I'll just echo what you said. I think it's a beautiful film, and it's a great love story, and it's not black and white like you say, and it's not about being gay or straight. It's just about finding love, and with whoever that may be. Right.
And it doesn't cast judgment either way. It's just, there's a great scene with Michael Stolberg. Is that his name? The guy who's in fucking everything and he's always amazing. Yeah. There's a scene that's one of the best scenes of last year, near closer to the end of the movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's between Timothée Chalamet's character and Michael Stolberg's character, and it's incredible. And I've never wanted to have a peach or an apricot so much in my life.
My goodness. Yeah. When watching that scene, I knew it was coming, but in my mind, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
See, I knew there was a scene where he fucked a peach, but I didn't know they play it like that, like it keeps going.
Dude, I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I know some sick people that have experimented with things like that. I knew that was coming.
Oh man, that was uncomfortable to watch. Just like
to me, this, you know what was so I'm a big fan of the TV show Shameless, and one of the main characters is gay, and in the show there's a lot of sex. So there's gay sex, straight sex, but the thing is, it's so fast paced and, let's say, aggressive, that this was more of the first times when you see a slower sexual, activities going on. And it was like, at first I was like, oh, okay, well, they're taking their time with this. But the only thing that I was like, man, don't do it, was that peach.
Yeah, see, I didn't the sex didn't bother me at all. It was just
just not
like,
at all. It was just that peach.
Yeah, it's just like it was the pretending to eat the peach after the deed has been done. That was like, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
all right, let's go. Next category.
All right, we can move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm happy Call Me by Your Name
recommended.
won. I think Call Me by Your Name deserved to win. I mean, maybe the Disaster Artist, but that wasn't even in the run. That was like, no one's talking about that. But I fucking love the Disaster Artist. But Call Me by Your Name.
I definitely think that Call Me by Your Name should have won, and the original music score. I'll say my piece, which is gonna be totally different than yours, which I can assume. Within that, I think the Shape of Water won. Alexander Desplat, I think.
Yeah,
his name.
like
Great composer. I'm not mad that it won. I think, sure, I can get it. For me, I think John Williams' score, at least for the year, something that I put on and play just whenever and listen to. It's John Williams' score for The Last Jedi. For me, what gave me chills would be his score for The Last Jedi. And I guess I can understand that, he built most of the score way back in the 70s, and there's, some new things here. But I thought what was new was great. Not mad that The Shape of Water, Alexander Desplat won for that, but I think that they'll probably give it to Williams next year, and especially with him saying that, and it's okay. We've talked about and at least you and I have talked about, when I mentioned things that, hey, maybe we can talk about, and there'd be clickbait stories, fake news stories, and it goes back to like people just going for the clicks. Is that there was a story, and I don't remember. I'm gonna paraphrase because I don't remember the quote, but it was just John Williams saying like, "Yeah, I think after episode 9, I'll probably be done. He's older, and he wants to retire." And then you get headlines the next day: John Williams gonna quit Star Wars after episode 9. It's like, it's not what he said, but okay. All right, clickbaity shit, but I think they'll probably give it to him for episode 9, especially with him saying he'll want to, start to lean back. He'll probably stop with episode 9, retire soon. I think he'll probably get it for that, and I know people may say, well, that's ridiculous, but I mean, there has been trends with people
that happens a lot
in Oscars getting something where, like, Roger Deakins has been nominated 14 times, and now he's got it.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese. Or Scorsese.
It's rare that it's rare that they win it for their best work. It's like, and it depends who they're going against, right? Like Leo probably should have won it for The Wolf of Wall Street, but he went against Matthew McConaughey. But he got it for The Revenant because there's not as much competition there. And like Denzel Washington winning it for Training Day was like, a lot of the times it just feels like more of a lifetime achievement Oscar than it does like the actual best, but the best in that category for that year. But anyways, original score this year, honestly, I think my favorite is Hans Zimmer for Dunkirk, but that doesn't take anything away from John Williams for Star Wars. Even Johnny Greenwood for Phantom Thread was like, I'm not as passionate about anything in this category. Like any of these, none of these jump out to me as like, oh my god, that definitely should have won. It had to win. But so I don't know. The Shape of Water wouldn't be my first pick. It might not even be my third pick, but it's fine.
For me, I love Hans Zimmer's score for Dunkirk, but the one I like more, what Hans Zimmer did, was the Blade Runner 2049 score. I thought that one was amazing. Yep. It picked up, I forget the composer's name, but the guy who composed the first one, he took what he did and he ran with it, and I thought that score was amazing.
Yeah, see, I probably would have given it to
see
Blade
him
Runner.
Nominated for that. yeah, I would have preferred to see him nominated for that. I can understand why he did for Dunkirk, though. I thought both were great scores.
Yeah, like I was saying before, Blade Runner got shafted for a lot of categories. This is one of them, I think. Like, to have 3 billboards on here, when Blade Runner...
Was it nominated? 3 billboards was up for score?
Yeah, it was.
See, that's like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the score for that. Yeah, it was not memorable.
See, I don't even remember anything from Shape of Water, I don't think. But just like...
Yeah, I just remember the little beats of, I think it was like a piano. Other than that, there wasn't anything big that I remember. And it doesn't have to be big, let's just say, but something that I can remember and it gives me chills. And like, I love that. I don't remember that from...
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to...
Okay, so we will move on to... Best Director? We'll move on to that. That's where my list goes next. So,
sure.
Best Director, Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro. He won. I wasn't surprised, and I'm happy for him.
I'm definitely happy for him.
Yeah.
He's not my first pick. He was my pick to win, but if it was up to me, I wouldn't have given it to him. But that's not taking away from him. I think The Shape of Water is maybe his best movie. I know that's controversial, being he has Pan's Labyrinth and whatever, but I think The Shape of Water is amazing. I'm happy that this style of director... Why, he's a monster. He loves his monster movies, and so to see him win Best Director, that's awesome. This whole Oscar season was unique in that you had Get Out and you had The Shape of Water being like 2 big front runners, and one's like the fish fucky movie, and the other one, it's a horror movie. So like, I don't know. I think it's awesome for The Shape of Water and for Get Out, and for Guillermo del Toro. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think it's awesome. Happy for him. He was my pick to win it. Who else was nominated for Best Director? There was Greta Gerwig, I believe.
Paul
Jordan
Thomas
Peele,
Anderson,
Christopher Nolan,
and Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay, yeah.
I love all 5. So
yeah. Same. If one of them would have won, then wouldn't have been mad. Yeah, those were all, I think, good nominations, and happy Del Toro won.
Yeah.
Move on to Best Supporting Actress. Allison Janney won for I, Tonya. To me, I was not surprised. I thought that was a lock, and I believe she deserved to win. I'm not sure if you've seen I, Tonya.
No, I've seen I, Tonya, yeah. Okay. And I had her pick to win, like when I started this all off with the predictability element, but that doesn't take away that she was excellent, and I think she deserved to win. I don't remember here who... I'm just pulling up my phone, I'm scrolling through the nominations.
There's Meryl Streep, Octavia Spencer, I think someone from Phantom Thread.
Oh yeah, that Phantom Thread pick. That was awesome. Anyways, yeah, she deserved it. Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, and the rest are pretty much just, I think, what everybody thought. I think these were easily predictable. Next, Best Supporting Actor, Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Yeah, I was not surprised. He was my pick.
I didn't think this was the strongest year for supporting actors.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was really good, but I can agree with you that it's not the strongest.
Yeah, all right. That's all.
Yeah. Best Actress, Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It was another one. She was my pick. Wasn't surprised. Happy she won. I thought she was great. Yeah. Do you have anything to say, or just push through them?
No, I'm just, all these actor ones were just kind of just like for me. So I mean, yeah, she was excellent in 3 Billboards. I think she deserved to win.
All right, so Best Actor, Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. That one I thought was a lock.
That was a lock. As much as I didn't want it, it was, I didn't want it, but it was a lock, and, whatever.
See, to me, I'm happy he won. I think he deserved to win for that, personally. And Best Picture would be The Shape of Water. And that's the one that lost me my pool. It came down to that one. Yeah. Because
is this the one that you were surprised about? Because you were talking about how...
I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised.
Is this the one? Because before we started this talk, you're
no, that was visual effects.
Okay.
I thought War for the Planet of the Apes, that one. That was the one where I was like, what? But understandable. This one, I wasn't surprised by, because I mentioned there were only 3 that I thought had a legitimate chance of winning. However... unlike you, what I did was I looked at all the other award shows, and I looked at them, and they held some weight for the ones I picked. I got most of them all right, my picks, except for visual effects and I believe picture. So those were the ones where I lost it, and I thought 3 Billboards was going to win only because looking at everything else. So I was happy that Shape of Water won, but for that pick I led with what happened with other award shows than the heart.
Yeah, Three Billboards would have been my second pick, but no, I got this one. Looking back while we went over the nominations, I had production design wrong, and visual effects wrong, and maybe score. I don't know. I don't know if. Anyways, I know I had those wrong. Anyways, Shape of Water, I thought was, for sure. I don't blame anyone who picked Three Billboards. Whether or not Shape of Water was my favorite, it's irrelevant, but I'm happy for Shape of Water.
To me, when I look at the Oscars, I don't look at them as what was my favorite film. I just look at a lot of the films that are obviously nominated are great films, but usually for me, they're not some of my favorites, ones I can love and really like, but to me, they're usually not exactly favorites. I just usually, for me, it's like, all right, I think this is going to happen. Let's pick. And for me, the fun is more for Oscars, the fun, and not to take away from what you're about to say, but for me, what's the fun part of Oscars is, so when you go to the movies a lot in the year, you follow these movies and then do a nice little prediction Oscar pool and see what happens from there. That's more the fun for me than
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I love that, but this year, a lot of my favorite movies were actually on here. Phantom Thread, Get Out, and Dunkirk were 301, top 5 or whatever favorite movies of the year. So, and then Disaster Artist was up there for screenplay, but I love doing the pools and stuff with friends and watching it, but it's a nice one. Like all of them, and, The Post and Darkest Hour not included, but all of them, I loved them for the most part. Fuck Darkest Hour. Oh my god, Darkest Hour is such a drag. Fuck that movie.
See, I think it's such a great movie. I think it's I think it's a beautiful film. I think it's awesome. And then, to show the past, I think is beautiful. And what the man did, I think it's great. I love the movie.
Oh,
it wasn't a top 10 for me, but it was close. I loved it.
It was a bottom 10. I'm not just saying this to be different, but Darkest Hour just really, holy shit. I don't think I've been so bored in a movie theater since Spotlight.
Oh, you didn't like Spotlight?
No, I'm just kidding. Spotlight was fine. I would watch Spotlight. I would watch Spotlight over Darkest Hour any day. Yeah,
to me, those two movies I think were great. Loved them. I like Spotlight more than Darkest Hour, but I think Darkest Hour was a fun movie. It's not fun and it's gonna be thrilling. It takes its time, but for me, I thought it was a nice fun movie. Nice to watch. I thought it was a beautiful film.
It's fun in the way watching paint dry is fun. So I get what you're saying.
Well, see, there you go. Then you make a case here. It depends what paint you buy, because you could buy a paint that dries within 5 minutes, and you're like, where can I get that paint? But you know what? I got places for you. And then you can buy the shit paint that dries in 2 days.
If Darkest Hour was over
the Darkest
5
Hour
minutes,
was the paint.
If Darkest Hour was the paint that dried in 5 minutes and I could finish it in 5 minutes, I'd praise it a little more.
So then let's classify the paint, because then you go into specifics. There could be the paint that dries in 10 hours or 1 day. Was it the paint that dries in 10 hours, 1 day, 2 days?
I'll tell you what. It felt like paint that dries in 10 days. That wasn't even an option. I just multiplied your options. 10 times 1 day. Okay. Here we go. It's just watching really slow paint dry with I don't know. There's just I've never been so uninterested in a movie. It was shot really well though, and there was a lot of shots where I was like, ooh, that's cool. I kind of want to do that. There's a shot with Gary Oldman through a doorway, and it's all black around the doorway. I was like, ooh, I wonder if I can mimic that shot for something, because it was so cool. But I mean, that's the only thing I remember from that movie was that one shot. Wow. And fuck that.
Oh my. Wow, yeah. To me, it was it catered to things I like. I like old war movies, and it wasn't exactly a war movie, but it was more
because I like war movies
behind war. It was more the politics behind war, and anything that involves a World War II, World War I, wars. It's in my wheelhouse. Not to say I'm just automatically gonna like it because of that, but it was. I think for me it was a great film. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, you skipped over film editing. I
did. Oh, okay.
And I just wanted to say, Dunkirk won.
Let's say it.
Would have been nice if Baby Driver won.
Yeah. To me, I think Dunkirk deserved to win, and I'm happy it won.
See,
I think
Baby Driver felt edited. To the non-editor's eye, you think film editing, what should win? And it's Baby Driver, because the way it's synced to the music or whatever, the way the scenes play out, is it feels there's an editor there, and not in a bad way. it's completely
Yeah.
motivated, and
Yeah.
but like Dunkirk would be my next pick. So I mean, I'm not too upset, but I just wanted to give
Yeah,
Baby
to me,
Driver some love.
yeah, to me, the two were Dunkirk, Baby Driver. I'm happy Dunkirk when I thought it should have won. Baby Driver is, like you said, a film that you can tell it was edited with the beats of the songs, with the songs that are used, and how they, you know, with gunshots and the car chase. It's all like one. The car chase and the gunshots work within the songs, and the songs work within that stuff. I'm not going to shit on any films, but I think if there's ones in like, that were nominated for Oscars that to me, ones I think were overrated, in my opinion, Baby Driver and The Shape of Water. Not to say I dislike them. Let me say that up front. I love The Shape of Water. I love Baby Driver. However, I've talked to so many people that like think it's fucking greatest thing ever that I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's good. I really do like it. But to me, those were the ones I thought were a bit overhyped. There's ones like I'm not even going to mention Three Billboards because I hear great things, but that's another one where I really liked it, but it wasn't one that blew me away. But that's kind of how I was for this year's Oscars. There's a lot I really liked up there, but there wasn't the one where I could really get behind and put down my stamp and like fucking wave the flag that this is the one.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're
And
saying.
that's Oscars.
I have a friend.
Oscars for
I have a
this year.
friend who's fucking not to name her name, but when La La Land came out, she was obsessed with it, and it's just all she would talk about. I think, of course, she was exaggerating a little bit for comedic sake, but then Baby Driver came out, and man, she was obsessed with Baby Driver, and I just think it's funny you're talking about people who think it's the best thing ever, and her name was just right in my head. You don't actually know who she is. She's a friend from outside of Niagara, so you wouldn't know her, but
All right. Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, we went longer than we planned.
Yeah, we've gone longer. I'll mention one other thing about the Oscars. For me, and this will wrap it up. For Oscars, that is. I know there's something you want to mention, but one of the other things I love about the Oscars is who's going to host it. Let's see the monologue. I think the past 2 years, Jimmy Kimmel has been killer. I know every Oscar host gets shit, but I think Jimmy Kimmel in the past like 5 years, I think, has been the best one to host the show. I thought he did a great job, and I love the Howard Stern shout out at the end with the hit him with the Hein.
I don't remember that. Jimmy Kimmel, yeah, he's good. I watched last year's Oscars more closely than this year's Oscars because last year was just my girlfriend and I. This year we had like 5 or 6 friends over or whatever, which I don't usually do. So there's a lot more talking than watching. So I can't praise or critique Jimmy Kimmel too much because I wasn't 100% there all the time. But yeah, for what he is.
And you know what? I guess one of the things he talked about can go into what we talked about a few weeks ago. And it was, I forget how we ended up talking about this, but it was about, I think we started off with whitewashing. We were talking about stuff like Ghost in the Shell and other comic book properties of, what if a certain character, if it was, whitewashing or whatever. And then we were talking about, well, what if like a Peter Parker was black? And then we also talked about Black Panther, where Black Panther, as the character is essential, he's black. And then one of the things Jimmy Kimmel goes on to say, I won't be able to pay justice because I'm not Jimmy, but just to say, like, for people who really care if a Superman was like a black, it's like, it's a comic book, the guy's not real, so who cares? I thought that was a funny one, and leads off to it was something we talked about before. But yeah, I thought he was great. I would like to see Jimmy Kimmel back again.
I do remember him commenting on that. I thought, this might open the floodgates for so much more discussion, and it's fucking...
Yeah, there's a bigger topic behind it, but we've talked about it before, so I figured I'll just give a shout out. And I know there's something you want to get to. We've gone over gone over time a little bit.
That's
so
fine. I'll be quick.
What you want to talk about?
I'll be quick. First, you recommended Red Sparrow last week.
I did.
And I did watch it, and man, I think this movie is great. I'm upset about the mixed reaction towards this movie.
Yeah, I was interested to see where you were gonna fall, because not to say we tend to have different opinions, but like most of the time we'll tend to like something, but for maybe like a Black Panther, we liked it, but obviously there's a difference of liking it, and I was curious to see how you were gonna take it.
Yeah, it's it's not an action movie.
Yeah,
like
not
a
at
lot
all.
of the
If you're going in
some
for an
of the
action
shows.
film, you're gonna
But
be upset.
holy shit, there's some like I haven't stopped thinking about it, and I want to see it again. Like, which is weird because it's like 2:20 or something, and it's brutal. Like, there's a lot of disturbing shit in this movie.
Yes.
But like, I think a lot of the criticism comes down to just kind of the exploitation of nudity, maybe specifically Jennifer Lawrence's nudity, but
Yeah.
like everyone in this movie is getting exploited, and it's brutal. Like, it's not it. This is yeah. It's I don't want to spoil it because I think not enough people are seeing it. So I don't want to go into specifics and deter people away from seeing it and ruin it for them. But if you're a fan of movies that just go there, like there's nudity and there's a lot of blood, and you were talking about the ending about how if you're not on board, you won't like the ending. I think that's something about what you said.
Yeah,
But-
that's somewhat what I said. There's two, I guess. There's two things that involve the ending. That if you're like, oh man, for the first part, you're like, and then if you get to the second part, and that's another one where you're like, no, you're probably not gonna like it. If you're down with, if you're mixed with the first one, and you like the ending, I think you can like it. But if you like both, it really, I think your overall enjoyment of the film will come down to that ending.
Yeah, see, I love the ending. I think so much of this movie worked. Like there's a subplot involving floppy disks, and I thought that was strange. But then again, like I believe like the nukes in the States run off floppy disks, or like there's something about that. So I thought that was kind of funny. But. For the exception of like, there's a little like muddled thing that maybe I just missed something, but this whole floppy disk storyline, there's some things there I was like, wait, how does that work? But besides like something little like that, I think it's Jennifer Lawrence is great. The accent scared me at first, but I totally bought it after a while.
Yeah, I totally bought it.
I would recommend Red Sparrow if you have like the stomach for that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes, I totally would.
It's not like people are like, it's not like brutal like Cannibal what the fuck is that movie called, Cannibal Holocaust or whatever, or like it's not brutal like those films. Remember, it still has Jennifer Lawrence, so it's not to another level. But yeah, Cannibal Holocaust, that's what the movie's called. Okay. So yeah, see it. And I don't know if you want to comment on something, or if not, I want to go into one more thing and I'll be quick about it.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think I do recommend it. I think it is a very good film. For me, it's about 15 minutes too long, but that's okay. A lot of movies have time they could shed. I think it's a great film. I recommend it, and I have seen criticisms of people just saying, "Oh yeah, I personally didn't like it because it went a bit too far," and I've even seen some professional critics have criticisms not based on the film, but based on certain, I guess, nudity aspects of it and exploitations of it. I think it's somewhat unfair just to say that a movie is bad because I feel they exploited somebody, when even you have your main star coming out saying, like, I felt empowered with the things I did, and it wasn't uncomfortable for the star to do. And I do think there's some... Yeah, I do think I can, if you're squeamish, I can understand you being disturbed by some stuff, but I think it's a good film. I recommend it.
I don't hold it against anyone who's critiquing, whether they think Jennifer Lawrence was exploited or taken advantage of. I don't hold that against them, because I think it's important to, film has a place in the world, and art has an impact. So to critique the movie's message or, its themes, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Jennifer Lawrence, of course, defending her position, defending the film, but no, I don't have anything wrong with people critiquing it like that.
I see. Then
as
that
much
would
as
lead
I
on to another
disagree.
thing. To me, I would have to say, if you're just going to critique the whole film as a whole, and I haven't seen a lot of people. There was just one thing that somebody showed me about this, that the person just critiqued it solely on that, not the film of how the story was, what beats were, just that this person didn't like it because there was some certain nudity and certain scenes that disturbed him. Therefore, he did not like it because he was disturbed. I don't remember even who it was, but it was a professional critic doing it. to me, I think something like that is a bit wrong. I think it's fine to say, is it right that this person did that? Did they exploit this person? It's not me saying don't do that. It's totally fine. You can have those conversations, but I feel if you are somebody who watches it, and if you're a professional critic, and this is more so to professional critics, that if you watch it and your whole base of your review is that I got disturbed by this one scene, therefore I didn't like it, and there was nudity that I think was exploited, but I'm not going to talk about the story. Like, I'm okay if you didn't like it. That's totally fine. But just tell me other reasons than just you were disturbed by a certain scene.
Yeah, I think being disturbed by a scene and not liking it is different than feeling that they took advantage of someone and not liking it. But
yes.
Yeah, I would not to go. I don't want to go any deeper into this. I don't think right now. Maybe another time, but because I think it's gonna go too deep. I just want to quickly mention one of the worst movies I've seen in a while. Probably. Well, I mean, it's kind of not fair because I saw 50 Shades Freed, but it's close to maybe almost as bad as 50 Shades Freed. And if you have nothing else to say, can I just say a little quick piece about it?
Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So Eli Roth's Death Wish, starring Bruce Willis, is aggressively terrible. This is like the weirdest. You haven't seen it, right? So
I have not seen it.
I won't. I don't know if I don't need to spoil it or anything. There's honestly.
I don't think anybody's gonna care about spoilers.
Okay.
Like personally, I would like to be spoiled, but if you don't want to go there, then we don't have to.
All right. I'll just explain things, and if I end up spoiling something, I'm sorry. But okay, this is like one of the most tonally fucked up movies I've seen in a while. It feels like they made a movie and it was this fun revenge shoot 'em up kind of thing with Bruce Willis, and he's cracking like really weird one-liners, and then some real life tragedy happens, or maybe they just thought they started thinking about real life tragedies in the past, because there's so much radio voiceover and shit that feels like such an afterthought about gun control, and it totally clashes with the rest of this movie. It's like Eli Roth said, shit, this movie's kind of disgusting, but if I can throw in people, acknowledging how guns can be bad, then it'll be okay. But the movie ultimately comes down to, if I remember right, it's one of the most completely forgettable movies ever, and it just angered me, but it comes down to guns are a good thing, but sometimes it's like guns are bad. It's so weird, and at some moments it'll be like this serious drama, Bruce Willis is brooding, and then fucking Bitches Love Sosa starts playing, and Bruce Willis is walking in slow motion, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It has no clue what it wants to be. It feels like a product of like an exploitation filmmaker scared of modern day politics, and it's like, holy shit. There's some super fucking cringy moments beyond its muddled message. There's moments where like these guys are killing a deer, and like they're just like hunting a deer, and the deer's dead, and Bruce Willis's dad chases them with a gun and goes, poachers, and starts shooting them. Like, the fucking punishment for killing a deer is not death. And he uses this as a lesson to teach Bruce Willis and inspire Bruce Willis to fucking kill people who deserve it, like criminals and shit. And that was one of the most unintentionally hilarious scenes that I've seen in a movie. Yeah, it's weird. Like, there's stuff where his family gets murdered and his daughter almost gets raped. And it's like, that's like really uncomfortable shit. And then in the same movie, you have him killing someone with dropping a car on their head, saying, because the guy asks, I think it's one of the trailers. He's like, you're not going to kill me. And Bruce Willis goes, no, Jack is. And then the fucking car falls on his head. Like, those two things are in the same movie. And
from hearing what you're saying, to me, and it goes back to, like, even when you talked about 50 Shades Freed, to me, the whole appeal to, like, a 50 Shades of Grey movie is, like, it would be a sensual movie, seductive, and one of your things is, like, it's totally not that. When I hear a movie of Death Wish and it being a remake of Death Wish, came back It came out a long time ago. To me, the whole premise of the movie is pretty much like it's like The Punisher. So I find it interesting what you're saying. So, and one of the reasons why, from seeing the trailer and seeing that there was a bit of a comedic tone element in there also was a big turnoff. Because to me, it's like, all right, you get Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis hasn't really been... Bruce Willis has just been acting as Bruce Willis the past, 15 years. Other than maybe, Looper. So I think, all right, okay, you get Bruce Willis. It's Death Wish. Let's just, it's a revenge story. Let's go kill people. For you to say that there's a hidden message of, gun control, I think, is Death Wish the right movie to do that for?
I mean...
Really?
I feel like you could do that. It depends how you play your story, but, I mean... Just looking at Death Wish as a whole, they don't do it right at all. Because like I said, it feels like an afterthought. It feels like they made the movie, and then they're like, no, guns are bad. And they do all of the anti-gun stuff in post, and it clashes. This movie has so many conflicting messages, and that's just that's something that angered me, but holy shit, just watching it is a bore, and... a lot of it drags, and a lot of it's just super fucking cringy. Like I said, the conflicting tones is awful. You can watch 50 Shades Freed with friends and have a good time. I don't know if you can watch Death Wish with friends and have a good time. Just because, there's... The rape scenes are brutal. And just with your friends, that's not something you sit and laugh at. Well, sorry, it's not rape, it's... She almost gets raped, but I mean, whatever. It doesn't change the fact that it's brutal. So it's just weird. It's too totally all over the place to have fun with, and I would just throw the movie in the garbage and leave it there. You never have to touch it. 50 Shades Freed, you can pull out of the garbage once a month if you're high or drunk or whatever, and have some friends. But I think just those little fucking blenders that are in your sinks that destroy the food before it goes down the sink. Every version of Death Wish belongs there. Completely destroyed. No one should ever see it. Everyone who has seen it should have the Men in Black little mind eraser things done to them, and then it should be completely forgotten. Eli Roth should retire. Bruce Willis should realize where his strong suit is, and just I don't know. It pissed me off. This movie pissed me off.
So, are you telling me that you are not excited to see Die Hard 6?
I've only ever seen Die Hard 1 and 2.
Really? You haven't? Okay. Interesting.
I want to see. Okay. I want to see 3, and I will eventually.
3. I recommend 3.
Yeah.
4 is not. I don't think it's a terrible movie. It's just not a Die Hard movie. The 5th one, what you're describing here sounds like the 5th Die Hard, except the 5th Die Hard's not as bad. But it sounds like that's kind of what you're describing here.
From what I know
except minus the gun control stuff.
Die Hard. That's A Good Day to Die Hard, right? That's what it's called.
A Good Day. Well, there's Live Free and Die Hard, and then there's A Good Day to Die Hard. I think it's A Good Day to Die Hard.
That's the 5th one, right? That's the one with his son or something's in it.
Jai Courtney.
I just know of it.
My God. Yeah, that movie. Ooh.
Yeah, it's probably about what Death Wish is. Just from what I know of it. Anyways, that's all. I'm mentally exhausted now from thinking about it and yelling about it. But I think that's all.
That is all I have to say.
We haven't been getting questions. I think part of why we haven't been getting questions is a lot of the comments and stuff were on our YouTube channel. Just we didn't get many, but there's 3 or 4. I think people have migrated to listening to us on iTunes and Google Play. I don't think our YouTube following is quite there as much. As not like it was big, but the 20 people or whatever that listen consistently. I've noticed. I think they're listening over there, so it's commenting is more of just a hassle. But if we would like to do Q&As, people, so if you're listening this far, please tweet us at what the fuck is our name? At Jake and Ben Show. On our Facebook page, Jake and Ben Show. Like us there, and if you find your way to YouTube, drop us a comment. We'll take those 3 places. We can get questions, comments. We'll respond to them. That'd be nice, but so we can make that more of a regular segment. But at the moment, the past couple episodes have just been us asking for questions instead of actually responding to questions. So,
yes.
So, rate us 5 stars on iTunes if you like us. Check us out, iTunes, Google Play. We're on both there. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. That's all.
Hey, if you're listening on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe. If you like us, that is.
Yeah, of course. If you like us, like us. If you like us 5 stars worthy, 5 stars us then. That's it. Do you have anything else you want to... Thank you to Jackson for making the artwork and the intro music. Do you have anything else you wish to say, or are we out of here?
What I have to say is that I will see you next week. And if you're one of the people that's listens this week to week, it's nice having you. And hopefully we have a nice build up within the next year or two.
That'd be nice. I'm enjoying doing this regardless of the following. Just like having people closer in my life listening to it is always really humbling, and that's nice. So thank you to anyone who is listening. It really means a lot. And we'll keep doing it because I think we both enjoy it regardless of fame or glory. So that's the most important thing.
That's right.
And
with that, we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.